Is it possible to have a small N-scale locomotive that runs like a dream, can run through turnouts with insulated frogs and across areas of dirty track without stalling? Well, it is, and today we're going to take a look at this Atlas GP15 that I've added a TCS DCC decoder to and a small TCS Keep Alive capacitor that provides really nice DCC performance across those areas of track that aren't perfect or across turnouts that have insulated frogs. Let's take a look. Okay, so this Atlas locomotive I think is a tremendous value. It is in their Trainman line, so you don't have the same high quality level of detail you have on some of their higher end locomotives. For example, you can see here all the grab irons here are all molded on. They're not separately applied like you might see in some really high end locomotives. And all the various detail parts, just aren't quite the same high level you would see in some of the higher lines from Atlas or scale trains. But for the price, it's really, really hard to complain. You can get the DC versions of these locomotives for under $100. And again, you can add your own DCC decoder if you want to do sound, you can do that, but you don't have to. And so you can really have a nice running DCC locomotive for $130 or something like that. And that is certainly a really nice way to go for a really high quality locomotive for your layout. I do really like these small Jeeps. They're great for small layouts like this with tighter radius curves. They work great on small switching layouts. This loop up here is 9 3/4 inch radius curves, and so having a locomotive that has a short wheelbase, 4 axles is a great option. And so this will be one of the primary locomotives I use for a lot of my smaller layout projects. Anyway, let's take a look at how it runs in DC. Now, I did use this locomotive last week in the video I had with the operating session on this layout, and it ran really well on DC. Now, the only thing is it's a little bit harder to control the speed precisely with DC. There's a small range of throttle can give you a really big range of speed with N scale, and so that's a little bit tricky to control. But that's something that with converting to DCC, it'll be a lot easier to get that precise speed control. But anyway, let's just go forward here, go through a few turnouts and see how it does. The main reason I'm testing here is that this is the only turnout that has an insulated frog. And so that's usually the only spot in the layout where I'll have stalling issues just because of that. And so you can see it stalled just a little bit there. And I haven't had any issues going at a higher speed, so if I just go through there a little bit faster, it has no problems at all. So the only issue is when you go really slow and you lose the pickup from some of the wheels. But again, that's pretty slow, still made it through the insulated turnout without any issues at all. So overall, yeah, I'm really happy with this locomotive. It runs really, really well. And now we'll see if I can ruin it by putting a DCC decoder and a Keep Alive capacitor in there and see how it goes. Okay, so I have the Atlas locomotive here, and I have the drop-in decoder. This is a very easy thing to swap out. Basically, you're just replacing the board that's in there with this board. No soldering or anything you have to do, so pretty easy to do. But I do have this Keep Alive, which is extremely small, and that will require soldering 2 wires to 2 of the pads on this board here. So let's go ahead, get this opened up here. The main question I have, and I haven't looked at this yet, is if I need to try to solder the Keep Alive onto this board before I install the board, or if I should do it the other way around. And that just will depend on where the contacts are. Obviously, if they're on the bottom of the board, I have to attach the Keep Alive before I install it. Otherwise, I just won't be able to access those pads. Here's all the information on the different CVs with this board. So we have to attach the blue wire to common, the black and white to ground. And So the ground is this pad right there, and that should be the common. These are the pads we'll need to use, and I'm assuming those are on top. Anyway, let me go ahead and get this shell off. Let's see. I don't have to take the couplers off, which is nice. Just pops right out. So very handy. This board here is held on by the side pieces here, which also contact the terminals. And so you have to basically undo these two screws, at least loosen them, so you can wiggle this board out of the way. Just gonna see if I can loosen these without taking everything apart. Okay, just slid that out. And then this board will just slide right in place. You know, it's not contacting the stuff here as well. And the other board has these little metal clips on there to help with the contact. So we'll go ahead and transfer those over. Okay, so I took this board out, removed the clips that were on here. Those clips just make it a little bit thicker, and so you can get better contact with the metal parts here. And so I can't find that little clip. It's on the floor right below the chair somewhere, and I don't know. So anyway, I'm just going to add a little dab of solder to here, and that'll be adequate. And while I'm at it, I'm going to try to tin these two terminals here for the keep alive. Let me try to get this board in here. We'll test it out on the track before I add the keep alive. So this will slide in here, but these little springy terminals have to go inside these slots. So that's the only thing to watch out for. That's a little bit tricky to do because obviously they're small and the slots they go into are small. That one's in. Let's get this tab in. Okay. Okay, so now I just have the DCC system turned on and we can see things work here. Turn the headlight on. Okay, that works. Crawling along at speed step 1, really nice and smooth. Okay, so now that we know that things work, I'll go back and I'll add the keep alive capacitor. I apparently didn't hit record, but basically I took the keep alive capacitor, hooked up the blue wire to common and the black and white to ground right there with this dab of solder on each. There's this little spot right here which hopefully I can use to keep the capacitor. And so let me just try it right now, see if that'll. Capacitor is basically right inside the cab, filling it up, but that's fine. I don't really care. So that'll work. Yeah, let's put it on the track and see how it does. Super nice. Anyway, that's a look at this Atlas GP15. Really nice performance out of the box. And then adding a TCS decoder and keep alive capacitor provides for some really smooth DCC performance as well, with no issues installing or anything like that going through insulated turnouts. So definitely turns it into a great running DCC locomotive. So I think this is going to be my go-to locomotive for switching operations for a while here until I get some of my other locomotives converted with those little tiny keep alive capacitors. Anyway, if you are looking for a small, great running N-scale locomotive, check out these Atlas units. And again, adding these little tiny keep alive capacitors from TCS does really make for some really nice performance in DCC as well. But anyway, that's all for now, and thanks for watching. Bye.